Any parting words for our guests?
Life is a gift. What a tragic thing it would be to give it back to God unopened.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Brand, a podcast where we take a look behind the brands that we love and know. We believe that behind every great brand is a great story, a great person, or a lot of people involved. And that's what we like to learn about here today. And so I'm excited about our guest today, someone who I met, a few years ago through our marketing director. You guys remember our old marketing director, Casey Lambert. And we met through some different networking events and just immediately found connection, just a good guy all around, at least what we know of him. And that is the one and only, some call him Mr. Fenton because he knows everybody there and everyone knows him. That is Will Stiverson. Will, welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you so much, Tony, for having me on the show. And hopefully this podcast will be able to help some people, or even if it just touches one. I think we're going to have a pretty impactful interview here. So
I love that. You know, every time I'm around you, I always learn a lot. I always gain a lot of things. You've done a lot of things in your life. And what I like about that is you don't keep it all to yourself. You try to share your knowledge and your experience and your wisdom with others. And so I'm hoping that, today this will be a beneficial episode to those watching. We do have a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners who watch our podcast. And so I think this will be good for them, but really anybody watching, I think. Yeah. So before we get into like your business experience and all the things that you're involved in, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born and raised in Fenton. I absolutely love it. I want to die there. I've told my son, you can park me in a nursing home if I start losing my mind.
In Fenton, though.
In Fenton,
yes.
Yeah. I have no reason to leave. I love the people. And I've been very blessed to be able to serve in multiple capacities. But a lot of that came because I grew up in a family that believed in there's more to living in a community than just living there and paying your taxes. And so you and I talked about this earlier that, you know, I kind of think like, why me? Like, why did God give me blessings that he's given me, or certain gifts, and maybe not somebody else? And so part of what I do in my life is try to recognize all of the gifts that we have are given by him, and we all have our own individual gifts. But like, how do I maximize the gifts that he's given me, and know to stay in my own lane? Like, if I'm not really good at something, I just stay away from it. Like, I don't work with my hands well.
Yeah. Same.
I'm going to lose digits.
Yeah.
So I rather, work and do something I'm good at, and then hire somebody that's gifted in those things and loves to do it, where, I don't want to lose my religion when I pick up a hammer. You know
exactly.
what I mean? So,
and I have many times.
Yeah. And so, because of the family that I grew up in, it was a very natural thing for me to get involved in the Fenton community. And, I've been very blessed to be able to work with the Fenton Chamber. I've been involved in the churches that I've been involved in. And one of the things that I feel like I owe it to my family, God put them in my life, and they invested a lot of time in me.
Yeah.
And when I really started getting involved, I went to a men's retreat back in 2013, totally changed my life. And I just knew I had like a shot that I wanted to. It was like almost like I was in a competition with some of my family members of how could I have an even bigger impact. Yeah. And I didn't, that wasn't at the forefront of my mind, but it was maybe a subconscious thought. And there's things, my dad died when I was 29, and everything that I love that I had from my dad, I try to give that to my son, or everything I feel like I've missed with my dad, I try to give that to my son. So my son, Logan, is 20 years old. He's the greatest gift that God's ever given me. I just thinking about him and the things he's going to be able to accomplish and the man he's turning into. I just think, man, he has a lot of potential, and he's figuring things out right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, are truly a blessing. Sometimes they're, they feel like a curse, but most times,
Yeah.
it's a blessing to have them and to see them go on. I think every parent wants their kid to do greater things than they did, to be smarter. You start raising adult children, which is the phase of life I'm in now. I have some teenagers still as well, but they start to get smarter than you, especially when it comes to technology and all
Oh
these new
yeah.
things. And, I don't fight that. I like the fact
Mhm.
that they know a little more and, I want them to stay grounded. I want them to remember, hey, dad taught you a lot of these things. So don't ever forget that. But it truly is a blessing. So you are, I said this earlier, you're kind of affectionately known by many as Mr. Owasso. And you're familiar with the Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Fenton.
Yep.
I said Mr.
You're
Owasso.
okay.
I'm running for Mr. Owasso
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah.
that's all I've been
Yeah.
saying lately. But you're affectionately known as Mr. Fenton. So Fenton doesn't actually have a Mr. Fenton competition.
No.
But because of your activity, because you're so involved, I think people have just kind of given you that name. People refer to, oh, it's Mr. Fenton Will. So where did that kind of start? Where did that come from?
Um, it started off with a few people. I don't even remember where in Fenton, and then Leela Forrest, who's the director of the Grambling Chamber, they had a celebrity dunk tank contest at their carnival they had in Grand Blanc, and they asked me to be involved in that. And I'm like, I'm not known in Grand Blanc, you know what I mean? And she goes, well, I'm going to market you as Mr. Fenton, and so,
There it went.
um, and then I'm competitive, so I outraised everybody else in Grand Blanc because I was the most obnoxious person in the dunk tank.
Yeah.
Hey, you with the corn dog, you think you got a shot at the
Yeah.
title and all of these things? So
Yeah.
they were paying to just shut me up.
Little smack talk never hurt anyone.
But as far as the title is concerned, I measure that title by the fact that people have valued me to be a resource to connect people.
Yeah.
I uh, I don't appreciate the title if it means that it's going to elevate me. I don't like
Sure.
to be a pride thing. It just I've been a part of so many great things, and and I struggle with that question: why me? Why did God put me in these positions? Because not why me, because I'm upset or disappointed, or like when
Yeah.
somebody's going through something, like I'm just a beaten, broken down sinner trying to figure this whole
Sure.
thing out, and you know I've been blessed to be put in positions to see souls change. Like one of the things I love to do, and you guys have seen this, and the reaction is sometimes mixed, but it's never bad, is I love when I'm at a restaurant asking the server, is there anything I can pray for you or somebody you care
Yeah. You
about?
did that this morning at breakfast.
And I've just seen servers like their total demeanor
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
And who does that? Like what little thing? It's a minor thing, really, but it's huge to the person that needs it,
For sure.
right? And so it I think anybody can do what I've done. It just you have to show up.
You have to show up. Well, that's the thing too. I had this conversation with someone recently about Christians. There are things that Christians maybe oppose and they want to stand on a corner with a sign and oppose it or picket or protest or make a Facebook post. And I'm not against any of those things. I think we live in America, you have the right to do that. But it's hard to do that when you haven't ever shown up and shown the love of God to your people, to your
Mhm.
community. And all they see is someone who's maybe judgmental or casting stones on them, and they don't see who you are as a person. And, you know, I was a server for years. I know a lot of Christian people come in and they just were awful, treat you horribly. And then, I remember, I don't know if you remember the old tracts that look like $100 bill. You ever
Okay,
seen those before?
I
It
think
looks
so.
like a folded up $100 bill, and they would leave that on the table, and then you'd open it and realize it was just a gospel tract. And I'm like, and they didn't tip you anything else. You're like, you thought you got $100, and then they were just rude the whole time. And I'm like, man, this is why so many people get a bad taste in their mouth about
Hmm.
Christians. And it's so important that you show up, you go to a restaurant, and maybe that server's having a bad day, or maybe things were going to go a certain way, but just letting them know, hey, what can I do? What can I pray for you? It also keeps you accountable to now you're going to have to be really nice to that person so that,
And
you
not be cheap on the tip too.
exactly. Yeah. So it's all of those little things, that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mhm.
And so I just think it's important for, anyone watching who is a believer that, we should, as Christians, oppose certain things and stand up for things that we believe in, but we also need to show up. We also need to be a part of our community. We also need to show love and compassion as Christ did. And so I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. It's a little off balance when that happens.
Well, one of the things, and I struggle with this because I'm not perfect, right? Is I don't want to live my life in such a way that somebody's afraid of having a relationship with Jesus,
Yeah. Yeah.
or they don't want to. And so, and
I don't want to be like that Will guy.
it's a fine line. So there's so many different things. I mean, as you grow in a relationship with him, you find a lot of the things that you think are okay or not okay. But that's between the individual and that person's walk. It's not my place or your place to say, well, you should this and this and this.
Yeah.
Right. And in a secular society, it's very easy for us to point fingers.
For sure.
So.
Today's episode is brought to you by AZ Branding Agency, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. If your business is great but nobody knows it, you don't have a marketing problem, you've got a branding problem. At AZ, we help you stand out with bold branding by creating websites, social media, video, and photography that actually gets noticed. Because attention is the #1 currency in business, and your brand deserves more of it. Learn more at azeebranding.com, and let's get your brand the attention it deserves.
Well, I want to transition a little bit. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about that stuff, but I'm sure our audience recognized that I'm dressed a little nicer today. Normally I'm in like a t-shirt or a quarter zip, maybe a ball cap. But today, we had, Dapper Dan. And one of the things I always notice about Will, he's always dressed so sharp. You have some of the nicest sport coats and suits. Where do you shop, man? Where did the style come from?
So I was, they thought I was going to go blind when I was 18 months old. And so I spent a lot of doctor's visits seeing a specialist in Troy. And so I'd have the misery of sitting in 2 or 3 hours of doctor visits, and then further misery of my mom taking me shopping in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Going to like places like Jacobson's or whatever. Yeah. And so my mom and her parents have always dressed well. And so I just had a sense of, I don't know, it's like we talked about, things are more caught than taught. And so I've gone to Men's Warehouse. I went to this amazing place in Northville. They make custom suits last week. And it was a little out of my price range right now, but
someday.
But Men's Warehouse has great things. Men's Warehouse also owns K&G in Flint. And so I've always told people, like, if you're not wearing a suit, like if it's like kids for homecoming or prom or whatever, like don't go and spend a lot of money on a suit. Go to K&G. You can get a whole outfit, tie, shoes, everything, probably for $300.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, we always look sharp, man. Every time I see him, like, I got to step up my game, I
need to do that. But.
Yeah, no, I like it. And you always feel better when you're dressed up a little bit nice, You always walk a little taller and you feel good. And what Deion Sanders says, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. So I like that motto,
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your business and what you do. Obviously, you're involved in a ton of chamber and networking type things. And again, that's where we met. But tell our audience what you do for a living and, how you pay the bills.
Yeah. So I formed my company, Stiverson Solutions, in January of 2020. What a great time to start a company.
Yeah.
And part of my reason for doing that is I've always been in businesses that were kind of niche that most people didn't really, they don't really know much about, which also requires a lot of trust for them to believe like what you're doing. So I did financial planning for a while. I got in the energy business where I found cheaper commodities of natural gas and electricity for clients. I had a sales force of 400 people through the country. Most of my business was in Michigan, and the public utilities had bottomed out their prices. Mm-hmm. And so then I was like no longer competitive. So I had to tell all my clients to switch back to the public utilities. But towards the tail end of that, I found another company that found energy refunds for companies. So if you were manufacturing a nonprofit or selling things wholesale, the public utilities were on an automatic billing system, so they were overcharging people. So I was able to go back and find refunds. That was also an extremely niche market and had a time. And then I built a payment processing book um, coming out of that. And then the employee retention credits were out.
Uh-huh.
And so I was involved in that. And then from that, right now I am in the process of building, uh, and I'm really proud of this because it's going to help a lot of people. Healthcare costs are just astronomical for most people, for businesses, for individuals. And so I have multiple avenues of providing programs and healthcare to individuals and companies. And I'm in the process of building systems. I also want to hire and train a sales force. Most people, I know this from my financial planning background, most people need to invest about 500 to 5,000 a month to be able to retire in dignity, depending on what age they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you would agree, Tony, that most people probably aren't doing that right
No,
now.
no.
And so what options do they have to meet that goal? And so once I have some of those systems in place, I'm going to, start hiring and training sales force with people that are in that B2B space, like the people that we see in the chamber offices, and show them how to make an extra 50, 100 grand on the side.
Oh, wow.
And so all of the programs that I'm involved with now are not like, I don't really care for competition. I like to come in and like be in a position where somebody can't say no. Like I've got a program right now that can get employees group major medical insurance with $1,000 deductible, and their out of pocket is about 80 to 150 a month through some
Wow.
strategies that we have. For the employer, their contribution after taxes is about 140 a month
Wow.
for major medical, and that's
may
for
have
the
to talk
single
about
right
that,
there. Yeah, so it's been it's an extremely extraordinary, exciting time.
So one of the things I always, talk about when I have people come to me and, they're talking about starting a business or they have a business idea. I always say, like, if you're going to start a business, you have to be solving a problem in the marketplace. Like, it's one of the first things. You can have a good idea, but does it solve a problem or meet a need in the marketplace? So for you, what would you say in a nutshell is the problem you're trying to solve for businesses?
So last year is estimated that $4.9 trillion was spent on healthcare. 2 trillion of that was covered by federal and state governments, and the rest was covered by employer and individuals. And it's not uncommon for me to see healthcare costs increased anywhere from 16 to 50%. So one of the programs I have helps offset that $4.9 trillion through some of the programs. And so not only do you have to have a need for the marketplace too, but I mean, you guys are in branding. I didn't do this intentionally, but I think people dismiss the fact that you are the brand.
Yeah.
What does your name mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you show up? How does your energy introduce you when you walk into a
Yep.
room?
Yep.
Because if you build yourself as a brand, it doesn't matter what you're involved with because you have credibility with whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would hope that if I were to, hey, I'm going to start this or I'm going to get involved with this, that I've earned enough respect from people because of the contributions I've been blessed to be able to give, that they would want to get involved or find out what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's because, I've branded myself of that I'm Christian, single dad, trying to do good. And when you yourself turn into a brand, not your company,
Yep.
not your organization, when you are a brand, it doesn't really matter what you're doing as long as you're doing good serving others.
Well, and I think that's an important thing. I want to stop on that for a minute because a lot of small business owners, they started by themselves. They were a solopreneur at one point, and maybe they've built it to a place now where they have a team and they have people working for them. But until you get to a certain level, which is beyond where most small businesses are, you still are at a high level the face of your brand.
Yep.
People do business with AZ because of me. Primarily, they at least get introduced to AZ because of me. Now they stay with AZ because I have an incredible team that takes care of them. But like I'm out there putting myself out there, my name, my reputation, and if I'm doing people wrong or if I have a bad reputation, people don't want to do business with AZ. On the contrary, if I'm involved in the community and helping the community and trying to build a good name, people say, I want to get involved with that. And so it builds a name. And so I think if you are a business owner, number one, you have to understand like you are a big part of your brand. And a lot of people think the brand is the logo or the fonts, the colors, the aesthetic, what's on the side of the vehicle or what's on the business sign. And I say it like this. Your logo is like the face. It's how people recognize you. So, in other words, if I am walking through Kroger and I see you and I see your face, that's what makes me recognize, oh, that's Will. That's like your logo. When someone sees your logo, that's what makes them recognize your business. But whether I decide to come talk to you or avoid you by skipping 2 aisles to go out of the way, that's your brand. And I think where people don't understand is they spend all this time on building this great logo and this great presence and a great Instagram and a great Facebook and all these things. But their brand is bad because the person who is building that brand and building the trust and the loyalty hasn't built those relationships, hasn't built the understanding, and they're trying to maybe uh, cover it up with, you know, the beauty of a nice logo or a nice slogan and forget what the important part about being a brand is. And so I think it's so important that as a person, if you own a business and, you know, you started on your own or you're still in that thing, you are a big part of that brand.
I would take it a step further than that. I would say you need to be the brand first.
Yeah.
Um, because if they understand who you are and what you're about, for example, I think that, I mean, you're running for Mr. Owasso right now. You know, you're a family man, and you've led in ministry and stuff like that. I think that that is much bigger personally
Mm-hmm.
than AZ.
Sure. 100%.
And I think as you grow then the AZ will come with it. I think one of the mistakes that most people make in any organization or business is they're too focused on the organization and business.
Yeah.
Where if they grew themselves, right? And I don't mean this in a egotistical, arrogant way. It's um I mean, the only way you can elevate yourself is being a resource to help people get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not limited to just business. Like my primary business, forget my Stiverson Solutions company, is I'm in the soul elevating business. God has put me in a place where he's given me a gift where people feel comfortable talking to me. And I'm not talking surface level things. I'm talking deep rooted things. And he has entrusted people in my life to help elevate them. So if you were to like, the brand is God has given me gifts. I recognize those gifts. And so Will Stiverson is a child of God that is an elevated position, not over people, but in a where he's recognized in such a way that he can be a resource to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't God's given me all that. That's not a me
Sure.
thing. There's no, well, again, why me? Why did he choose me?
Yeah.
So it's and everybody has their gifts. I think that the biggest struggle is why I say soul elevating is that what can I do to help you with your gifts, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Like my son likes to work with his hands. He hates to read.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do to encourage him to get into the trades or whatever he wants to do?
Yeah.
To be the best he can be.
Yeah.
Like God made him to be.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think we agree on that. I mean, I think you have to be authentically you. A lot of business owners try to completely separate themselves and their personal brand, they would call it, from their business. And I always tell people they really are synonymous.
Yeah, you
A
can't.
lot of people won't use their personal Facebook page to share things that they're doing in their business. And I just think it's a mistake. You know, I think if you're the person that's putting yourself out there and you've built this thing and you're trying to provide this service, then it should be a reflection of who you are as a person. And so don't be afraid to lead with that. And that means you're probably not going to be for everybody, but that's okay, because if you try to be for everybody, you actually become for nobody. And so I think it's important people to lean into who they are. And like you mentioned earlier, find your gifts, find your strengths, and don't try to be everything. Don't try to be someone else. You can get inspiration from other people. You can get ideas, but you got to be you. And that's what, at the end of the day, people are going to resonate with. And that's why people are going to want to support you and do business with you and all of those things. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about, you know, you talked about brand. You talked about the brand being you. But what would you say to the people watching is the hardest part about building a brand? You know, we say the brand is the part of the business that builds trust and loyalty. It's the feeling people get when they think about your business or when they come into your establishment. What do you think are the hardest parts about building a good brand that people trust?
I think most people have a misconception that they don't have the time to show up. I've been very active in the Fenton Linden Chamber for years, and we have multiple networking events, and one of the biggest misconceptions that people try to give themselves, oh, I joined the chamber and it didn't do anything for me.
Hear it all the time.
And I haven't missed one of our networking events in 13 years or something like that.
That's
right.
crazy.
And I'm a busy guy, and I have control of my schedule. Like, I don't have to stay in a certain place from this time to this time. But I mean, I don't know how somebody can't devote 2.5 hours a month to go to a networking event.
Yeah.
Right. And so, people trust people that show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you show up one time and you earned it. You have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking in a month. I'm talking, it's like when you're doing a marketing campaign. Campaign isn't, let me just do this marketing thing for 1 month.
No.
It's like
That takes
6
time.
months to a year,
Uh-huh.
right? Or longer. And so you have to commit to those things, and you can't sit and think. Most business owners are glorified employees of themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And the biggest issue they have of really getting to the next level is they aren't in a business mode mind. They're in a employee mind, meaning how much money are you putting into the business versus you taking out in a personal income.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you have to shift into this, like a lot of business. How do I cover all my personal expenses first? And you can't do that. It's how much you got to grind it out, build your business. A lot of that is showing up. Like, I'm not a big cold marketing guy. I've always been a
Yes,
relationship guy, but I'm okay showing up until I have that relationship to ask. I won't ask you if I barely know you.
Yeah.
Because why? My business is in a high trust scenario, because a lot of the things that I offer, no one knows about.
Yeah.
They just don't. And it's not really publicized or whatever. So if you don't trust me or like me, I'm absolutely wasting yours and my time, because you're not going to do anything with me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's talk about that then, about networking. So we always talk about, like, the number one currency in any business or brand is attention.
Yeah.
And without attention, you can have this great product and great service, but if nobody knows about it, if nobody knows you, you're not selling anything. It's just a hobby. And there's a lot of ways to get attention. We talk a lot about, like, social media being a great way to get attention. And it's not attention for yourself necessarily. It's attention on what you're doing and how you can help people and the services you offer. But people got to know about it. So you throw a billboard up, it's to get a little attention. You put up a TV commercial, attention. You throw a social media post out there. But another great way, and something I want to talk to you, we just had Leela Forrest from the Grand Blanc Chamber on.
mm-hmm.
We've had our local chamber president on to talk about this idea of networking. And you just mentioned something that a lot of people say, I don't join the chamber because I don't get anything out of it. People have this idea that I pay my $350 a year fee, and the chamber should be just sending me all this business. And that's really not the function of a chamber. No. And I will tell you, like, our business from 2020 to 2022, we had this explosive growth that was like nothing I had ever expected. And it got to the point where, there was a time where every single customer we had was a personal relationship that I had built. Mm-hmm. But then it got to the point where we had all these new clients and new customers. We were putting out work for people I had never even met. I didn't know. I hired a sales and marketing director in Casey Lambert, who who I just started sending him to all of our networking groups because I didn't particularly want to go. I didn't feel like I had the time. And it came to a point where I realized I had lost so much connection to my people, mm-hmm. my employees, my clients. I had people speaking on my behalf and maybe not even doing it the way I really wanted them to do it, putting out the wrong type of messaging. And so when Casey moved on, we had just hired Morgan, and I decided to go with Morgan for a short time to get her feet wet, to introduce her to people with the full intention of saying, all right, you're going to go do this on your own after a while. But what I have learned over the last 2 years, well, it's been just over a year now that I've been going pretty faithfully with Morgan, is just what you said, like showing up mm-hmm. and being a part and letting people see you and taking a picture with somebody and having a little meeting and talking about each other's business and just being there to encourage and gain and learn and give and offer. It really does help. And it has brought us so many opportunities. It's brought us so many relationships. We've had so many great guests on the podcast because of it. And I know you are involved. Like, we're members of the Shiawassee Chamber, the Flint Genesee Chamber, the Grand Blanc Chamber, and we're probably going to soon join the Fenton Linden Chamber. And sometimes we can't get to all of them because they're all so far away.
Yeah.
But I think there is what you said, a real value to not just being a member and letting it go, but actually showing up and doing your part to be involved. So as someone who is incredibly involved in all of that stuff, multiple chambers, multiple networking groups, what do you find are the best ways for people to get the most out of it and to have the most benefit of that membership?
Well, I would, for one, you need to work a room. I mean, you need to not be afraid, go meet a whole bunch of people, find out who your prospective clients are.
Yeah.
And you don't talk about your business at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
You all about them. Like I make friends wherever I go. Like if I'm sitting, I go out to eat a lot, and I'll sit at the bar. I don't drink, but I sit at the bar and I eat. And if I don't know anybody, I'll just start talking to the server, or I'll start talking to somebody next to me. Like, do you live in the area? How long have you lived here? Oh, well, why did you decide to move here? What do you do?
Curious
Oh, do you
person.
have kids? Do you like, oh, or what type of extracurricular activities? And if they're a sociable person, they'll tell me everything, right? And then if they're not, then they're like, okay, this guy Will's annoying the heck out of me, blah blah blah, and then I have to back off. So that's one of I would do if I were to go to the networkings. The other thing I would do is I join a committee, and I joined the ambassador committee with the Fenton Chamber, which is the workforce of the chamber. They're the ones that are in front of everybody. They're more visible than the board of directors. I was blessed to be the chair of that for 5 years. And again, to that competitive spirit of, I wanted to have the best ambassador committee in the state. We were sought after by the state Michigan, the Michigan State Chamber, to do a class on how to build an ambassador committee.
Wow.
And I've consulted a couple other chambers that with their people that run the ambassadors. It's all about relationships. The ambassador committee in Fenton is so special because we turned it into a family.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that with the group that I was involved with that we put in place are still being carried forward today. And so it's Shelley Day, our former director at the Fenton Chamber. I hate professional things. Like, I want to get people to laugh. I want to, like, it's professional and it seems so stuffy.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. Like, and I don't think most people want to go, like, they're like, oh, what am I going to say? What words and phrases am I going to use?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And so
it's why people don't like networking.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, we have a lot of fun at our networkings. I've got, a cowbell I get to use, and that you'll have to come to a Fenton Chamber to see how I use it. Event.
We've been to a few.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying anybody in the audience.
Oh,
That's a plug to go to the Fenton Chamber networking at noon. But no, I would just say work the room. A lot of this, and this goes into the deeper part, you got to find out the gifts that God's given you.
Yeah.
And then you need to just max it out unapologetically. Grant Cardone says this, and I love it. He goes, I need some new haters because the old ones are starting to like me.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to be liked by everybody.
Right.
Not everybody's going to appreciate your personality. People are going to think that some people probably think that I'm arrogant.
Yeah.
Because I post stuff or I do a lot of selfies, and it's not about that. It's to create some awareness, things that are going on or whatever. I don't have to do any of that stuff.
Well, people that follow you on social media feel like they know you, and there's a value to it, and that's what you want. You want that openness, and I think, again, that authenticity. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand your brand, and if you're building the type of brand that you want yourself out there, and you want people to know you and feel like you're approachable, that's a great way to do it. But I think people that feel nervous about going to chamber events because what am I going to say? What if they ask me questions I don't know the answers to? I think you said, try not to talk about your business. People are going to say, what do you do? I'm always like, oh, I own a full service marketing and branding agency in Owasso. What do you do? Like, I don't dive deep into it. If they keep asking me questions, I'm going to answer, but I'm going to try to deflect back to them. But I find the best way to approach people is just ask them questions about themselves. They are the expert on the subject.
You'll go 45 minutes without them asking.
So just ask questions about them and be genuinely curious. Yeah. Curiosity is a very underrated skill, value, whatever you want to call it. if you just be curious about people, call myself a branding nerd. That's why I love the podcast, because I like to learn why people do what they do and
Mm-hmm.
how they got there. And it's genuinely interesting to me. And sometimes in that conversation, I hear something, oh, maybe I could help them. And sometimes I realize there's never a point where we're going to do business together, but I'm still building a relationship and meeting somebody. So if you go with that thing, like maybe you're a little introverted and you're nervous about what to say, just go and ask questions. Be curious. Figure out why people do what they do. People like to talk about themselves. So, well, we're at 35 minutes now, which there's no time limit, but we try to
Okay.
do the commuter podcast. We find the shorter the podcast, the better the views they get. And you and I could talk for
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, absolutely.
But I wanna take just a few minutes here to kind of talk about some things that you've learned over your time and being in business and being a dad and being involved in a community, because I want to give our audience opportunity to glean some wisdom.
Yep.
And so hopefully you have some.
Well, we'll see.
So what is the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Gosh, there's so many things that I'm a student. I listen to and read. It's very hard for me to separate business life and personal. So I would just say, um, it's not what I heard. It's not when somebody told me. It's a painful lesson I learned. I won't have a client. I will not take on a client unless I'd marry them.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And so I don't do things for the money, but I'm sure you've had challenging clients
Never.
in the past.
Never. Every client is.
Yeah. So if you're, because if you have a person that you probably aren't aligned with or whatever, they are going to just wipe everything away from you for you to be good for everything else. And I think that would be the same thing in relationships. Like if you're dating somebody and they don't align with where you're trying to go with your life in a positive way. I mean, if you're going negative, maybe you're the one dragging them down.
Sure.
Like they can totally ruin your life. You know what I mean?
100%.
In Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, there's a specific chapter that pretty much says you are not going to be successful if you don't have a supportive spouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's your job to either get them supportive or whatever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And most spouses, I believe, are supportive if you're making money.
If you're making money, yeah.
If you're not making
It's hard
money,
to be
and
supportive when
like,
you're not making money.
yeah.
This hobby, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I used to. So I'm a dreamer,
me too.
and I'm a yes
Yeah.
man. I just believe, not because I'm afraid to say no, because I always believe in the best case scenario. People call me the eternal optimist.
Yeah.
So I say yes to too many things. I overcommit. And as I'm getting older, I'm learning you have to, by saying yes to everything, you are actually saying no to some things that are maybe more important. So I'm trying to always learn that balance. But, there's been so many times throughout my career when a client would be like, could you do this? Full well knowing it's not what we do. It's not
Yeah.
something that is one of our services. But I also believe I could figure that out. And I think one of the, also we said earlier about curiosity is an underrated quality. I think the most underrated quality is the ability to figure things out. I think one of my gifts is the ability to figure things out. I know how to figure how to get things done. And so because of that, I'm always like, oh yeah, we could do that. And then what ends up happening is you overcommit to a client to get the business because you want to work with them. And then what ends up happening is you realize that you frustrate them because you really can't deliver on what you thought you could. And they frustrate you because they're demanding more than you have to give. And so I have determined, in business now, I'm very open about, hey, listen, I want you to understand we are a local, regional company. We don't do national campaigns, but whatever it is, I want people to know, even if that means we might have just recently lost what could have been the biggest client we've ever had, because some of the stuff they were wanting for us on a national scale, I knew with the team we have right now and without me wanting to pull my hair out, we probably can't deliver on what they need. And so instead of entering into a relationship that was going to frustrate them and frustrate me, realize this isn't compatible right now. And so I have to be willing to walk away. So we offer them a series of things we could do. It's not necessarily everything they needed. And so maybe we'll get a little bit of it, but probably not. And so I think it's important that you have to, like you said, before you enter into that business relationship with anyone, you have to ask yourself, is there a compatibility or is this going to work well?
Well, It's how much do you value peace of mind?
Yeah.
So if you value peace of mind, there's no price tag to it. There's no price tag to peace of mind.
Yeah.
And so when you understand that when when you're in business, like I'm not saying that there isn't uncomfortable things where you're in a grind and you don't know and things aren't maybe not working the way that you want to in a period of time, and
Sure.
think you're
Figuring it
doing
out.
you think you're doing all of the right things, right? That you got to go through that and plow through that. But I just there's no price tag to peace of mind. If somebody's not comfortable doing uh, business with me or doesn't like the programs that I have to offer, I don't I I don't like hand holding.
Yeah.
Either
Same.
you're all in with me and you trusted me, and I'm not saying it's something might not come up from here or there, but if it's something I have to handhold your whole deal, like I don't want you like
Yeah.
if I did a campaign with you and I'm just saying I'm not getting enough attention, Tony. I'm not getting enough clicks. I'm not seeing this. I didn't get $500,000 my first month, and I only gave you $200 to start it.
Right.
Like you're like, whoa, bro, you
Yeah.
need to
We've had that.
you know what I mean? Like we told you up front, remember this and blah, blah, blah. Well, if I was doing that up front, you took me on,
Yeah.
probably not a good idea
No,
because
I
I'm
think
going to
managing,
disrupt your
yeah,
peace of mind.
managing those expectations
Yeah.
and being aware of who you are as a person
Yeah.
and your capacity,
Yep.
and being aware of your company
Yep.
and who it is and their capacity and your team. Like I've also learned for me, like I most of the time thrive in chaos. I like to be busy. I like it when there's more things to do than can be done. My brain works quick that way. When I don't have a lot to do, my brain slows down and I don't get as much done.
Yep.
What I've learned though is that my propensity to always be in chaos, that doesn't bother me. It projects a huge amount of stress onto my staff and onto my family and onto my wife and onto my clients. And although I'm over here like everything's great, everyone in my wake is like, dude, could you please just like,
You
and
might
and
want to
so
make sure you're not addicted to chaos.
well, I probably am.
And that's a true thing. Um, my sister was addicted to chaos.
Yeah.
And I just did a post. That's another thing I would tell people, that if you're going to brand either your business or yourself, I think that your ability to be vulnerable, like that is going to connect you to more people
Yeah.
than anything else. I just did a post on Friday about my sister. Last Friday was the anniversary of my sister's death, and I had posted something about that. And so when I think of chaos, she battled that most of her life,
Yeah.
right? And so you got to be very careful. If you are addicted to chaos, everybody around you is suffering probably more than
Sure.
you think that they are. They might be saying, "You're driving me nuts, Tony," but in all reality, it's like I understand being busy and going in and like, yeah, I'm going to go Braveheart this deal and solve this thing that no one
Yeah.
else can do, right? I have some of that in me,
Yeah.
like God's with me, and we're gonna just
Can do attitude. Yeah.
we're gonna rock this out. If anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be me because God's right here with me. Blah blah blah, but um, not at the expense of taking everybody with you, though.
Sure. Sure. Well, I think that's an important lesson. It's something I'm learning every day and trying to get better at because, like I said, everyone's capacity is different.
Yeah.
And, you know, if for me, I can live on 5 or 6 hours of sleep and work late into the night and still get up early. And if that's something I have the ability to do and it not necessarily affect me mentally or physically, uh, I have to realize that it's, obviously to get anywhere, you need a team and you need people to help
Yeah.
you. And to leave that kind of stress in your wake, it actually it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit you. And so I think a lot of business owners too, they get in that mode where they're a hustler, they're a go-getter, I can do it all. And so they expect that from their people. And I just think it's something that people need to step back and be mindful of, that you probably should be the busiest person in your company, at least when you're starting out, or the most committed. But make sure that when you're in your mode of being ambitious and eager and, enthusiastic, that you're not frustrating everyone else behind you.
Well, I heard this a while ago that your people will do 50% of the things that you do right at best,
Yeah.
and they're going to do 80% of the things that you do wrong.
Yeah.
So like anything that I've led, there is no call in.
Yeah.
I don't, there is no, I mean, it's got to be an absolute,
All or nothing.
Well, it's got to be an emergency type thing. Like I think I missed one board meeting when I was on the chamber board. Um, we were talking about Bill Delaney when he was dying. I always helped with their scholarship lunches. I called in for that. I don't call in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you're somebody that everybody can count on all the time, it's that showing up thing, right?
Hmm.
Like then you can get some grace when it happens. But
For sure.
yeah,
Well, so then let me ask you this, and this will probably be our last question before we go into our Say It in 60. That is a lot of fun.
yeah,
With all the things going on, you said, you don't miss a chamber meeting. You haven't missed one in 13 years. And
networking.
yeah,
Yeah.
networking me. How do you balance it all? You have a son and you have a business and you have all these different committees that you're on. You're involved in your church. You're involved in your community. How do you balance it all?
Well, I'm not on as many committees or boards. In fact, I'm not really on any of them now. I've stepped away from all of that to build that program that I'm telling you about as far as my business because I want to help a lot of business owners specific in that, and I do want to hire and train a sales force to be able to offer that. But in the heat of all of that, and when my son was at home, you block schedule.
Yeah.
You have non-negotiables for your life. You keep promises to yourself. Ed Maglette talks about our self-esteem is predicated to the promises that we keep to ourselves. So if you don't if you're just going through your life without purpose, with a purpose that God's given you, and if you aren't seeking those things out, it's very easy to be reacting to everything in your life.
Yeah.
I don't react. My mom goes, "I can't believe you haven't stroked out yet because you're so boom, 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 boom." And I'm like, "Well, Mom, I'm a structured guy. There's a book called Personality Plus. What they would call a powerful choleric, or that's the personality,
Yeah.
and it's normally the natural leader. So there isn't I allot time for Murphy's Law to happen.
Yeah.
Like I live 45 minutes away from you guys. I left like at 8 o'clock and I needed to be here at 9 because who knows what if I got in a traffic jam or
Yeah.
what, and I checked GPS before I got here. So you just have to plan for it. I think people put too much emotion to just making a decision.
Yeah.
The most miserable time I've ever been in my life has been when I had to make a very important decision and I didn't do it. It just it's
Yeah.
and everybody, like whether it's a work thing or a relationship thing, unfortunately I'm divorced. My ex-wife and I are great friends. She's remarried or whatever, but I mean we went through like a 2-year period of time that we probably should have been divorced.
Yeah.
And both of us were just absolutely miserable because we didn't make that decision because there's so much emotions attached to it. Now, obviously, there was a lot of reasons to have those emotions. We had our son and had him to think about. But I don't think I'm going to go to a chamber event. This is non-negotiable. I'm going to invest this into my business.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian, I'm going to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
That's not a non-negotiable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or, I'm going to coach my kids' thing. This is a non-negotiable. I'm going to do that. Or
Right.
whatever those things are. And if you don't have enough of those in your life, then you probably aren't on a purpose. If you are just working 40 hours a week and then going home and that's it, you got to find out what excites you.
Yeah.
Like I said, God has given us all different gifts, and it's just a matter of finding it or finding people that can help you find what those gifts are.
Yeah. Good advice, man. Great advice. I appreciate that. So before we go to Say It in 60, I want to give you an opportunity to look into that camera
Okay.
and let people know how they can connect with you. And if they're interested in any of the things that you've talked about, whether that be chambers or your business or anything, how they can connect with you, social medias, websites, all that stuff, go ahead and plug away.
Yeah, I would just say I have a public profile on Facebook and Instagram, and just find me or add me there and say that if you can send me a message that you found me through this. If I don't know you though, I don't just add every single person. I will tell you that because I've had to unfortunately vet that just
same.
a little bit. But most of the content that I post on social media is things that might be able to help you. Like every one of my stories, I typically have some type of quote or some type of something to think about to develop your faith. I am fortunate to go to a lot of different things, so I try to promote that too. So You are not going to see drama on my page though. So if you're looking for, some type
Drama
of
free.
yeah,
Drama free
yeah,
zone.
yeah, we're not going to do any drama.
Good plug, man.
Yep.
Good plug. Okay, so we have a segment that we end every episode with called Say It in 60.
Yep.
So we take 60 seconds to try to squeeze the last little ounces of wisdom out of you.
Yep.
And but you only get 60 seconds
Yep.
to do this. So we just had someone break the record like 2 weeks ago, a local gal here. She did it in like, man, I can't remember. It was like 29 seconds. So,
Okay. Well,
I don't know if it's possible to beat that. And all you get is bragging rights.
let me
But I
get a
know
breakdown.
before that it was Leela Forrest, and she was like at 39. So if you at least want to beat the people in the Fenton, Linden, Grand Blanc area, that's your goal. Okay, so Morgan's going to put 60 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
She's going to let me know when we're ready. Are you ready? She's ready. Okay. All right. The timer starts now. Favorite hobby?
Piano playing,
Favorite place you've ever been?
Fenton,
Favorite food?
Italian,
A must-read book?
The Bible, or The Power of One More by Ed Milet.
Favorite podcast?
Multiple,
A daily habit everyone should practice?
Make Your Bed,
A TV series worth binge watching?
The Chosen,
In your opinion, what will grow your brand more? High-quality photography or high-quality video?
video,
A great website or great social media presence?
social media,
Last question. What does success mean to you?
the positive effect you have on the people you meet.
Very good.
33 seconds.
33 seconds. All right, you beat all the Fenton people. So all the Fenton,
All the
Grand Blanc-
Genesee County.
all the Genesee Countyers. So, and we've had a lot of them. Most of our guests have been from that area. So, well, that's awesome, man. Thank you for being on the show today. Like I said, we
Well,
can
thank
talk
you.
for hours, and we should do this again.
Yeah.
We should do this again. I've enjoyed it. There's so many other things we could dive into that I think would help people. And any parting words for our guests?
Life is a gift. What a tragic thing it would be to give it back to God unopened.
Ooh, I like that. Write that down. We need to post that as a single clip.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, man, for doing it.
Thank you,
Appreciate
brother.
it. Thanks
Thank you for your
going to
time.
breakfast with us this
Hey,
morning.
breakfast was amazing. Go to Amy's place in
Yeah,
Owasso.
It was great. It
Yeah.
was great. So, and we all have leftovers for tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for watching. Make sure you connect with Will. Good dude.
Thank you, guys.
Just a good, God-fearing man that's fun to be around. Always learn things when I'm around him. So come to a Grand Blanc Chamber event. Come to a Fenton Linden Chamber event. You'll meet him there for sure.
Yep.
And we got to bring you over to a Shiawassee Chamber event sometime.
Okay. Keep me posted.
We had a new president, and he's trying to grow. It went through some really rough times, kind of
Okay.
died out. Just kind of was hanging on by a thread, and he's doing some good things. So
you have a lot of businesses, great community here.
have you
so-
come over and just inject some energies. You'll be our guest sometime. So
Okay.
again, thank you all for watching. As my mother always said, you can't and never could until you tried. So go out there and try something great, my friends, and don't take the easy way out. We'll see you next time.
Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We want to connect with you. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and let us know what guests you want us to have on the podcast. Follow us on social media for more branding insights, and thanks for watching Behind the Brand.